In today's video, I'm unlocking the 2 new Haas liveries and checking out the Season 3 content so you don't have to. So for the latest season of live service content for F1 25, it's all around Haas F1 team. 10 years of speed, celebrate a decade of Haas F1 with scenarios inspired by their greatest races and the return of the Pro Challenge later on in the season. And as we click into F1 World, that has a new makeover, which is pretty nice, I must say, in the menus with that side pod. Both scenarios have their own livery rewards and also helmet ones, but I think the more interesting one is going to be the liveries because you can actually use those in driver career mode. Those 2 livery rewards are the Canada 200th GP livery that Haas ran earlier this year, and then likewise the second reward for the latest scenario is the Japan Suzuka livery they ran at the Japanese Grand Prix with those lovely pink cherry blossoms all over the car. So in this video we'll be showing both scenarios and unlocking both liveries. The first one is this. At Austria, Haas have forged a reputation within F1 for punching above their weight and scoring unlikely results against F1's traditional heavyweights. In 2018, Haas finished P4 and P5, their best ever points haul from an F1 weekend. As Ollie from P9, can you channel the true underdog spirit and charge up the field to P4? So the objective seems simple enough, but it kind of depends on what kind of scenario we're put into in terms of we're loading in to this race, but looking to repeat history with the best of Haas. We're driving as Ollie Behrman, so we're P9, so we've got to gain 5 positions in this race to get the objective, and there are only 9 laps to go. We're on the mediums. There's Stroll behind us on hards, Alonso ahead on hards, Ocon, our teammate, on soft. So quite a mixture of compounds. So it's not like it's a nailed-on tyre advantage, but we don't really know how long these guys have been on their tyres. That's the only frustrating thing. I hope that in future scenarios, maybe they can learn from this kind of feedback. It'd be great to know what the kind of actual scenario is, the details of it. Like, okay, these guys are on old tyres, we're on new ones. That's why we're expected to gain 5 positions in 9 laps, because realistically in a Haas, usually with only 9 laps to go, you'd be scoffing at gaining that much time and that much track position. So it'd be nice just to know, even if it's a bit of a convoluted fake scenario, why these guys are on such old tyres, etc, etc. As we now catch up to Ocon, we've already made 1 free position because Leclerc pit, so something like that makes sense. Leclerc gives us a free position because he's pit late, and now we've got our teammate Ocon, and obviously this scenario in F1 World probably has the base level of tyre wear, so the tyre wear is probably very high on those soft tyres, so Ocon's falling away, and the same maybe for others ahead. Alexander Albon could be one in the Williams. Verstappen's pit, so that's given us another free position. So I suspect Verstappen and Leclerc, that's 2 that you're always meant to get because they pit. Hadjar with the blue flash just waving us by, but gives us a bit of DRS to catch up to Fernando Alonso. He's on the hard tyre, so one would assume he's been on that for a while, so those tyres are going to be worn out. We can catch him. And then Albon, technically right now, is the P4 we're trying to catch. He's on softs, though surely, case in point with Ocon, should be wearing. But the problem is, if you look at the top left and the minimap, you might notice Verstappen is closing on us, having made that pit stop. So as we focus on getting past Fernando Alonso, we have other worries behind us in the form of the Dutchman. As we look to close up Alonso's defensive, we go to the outside. It's going to be a simple move up into P5, but now we need to go like the clappers to catch up to Albon, because I need to catch Albon before Verstappen catches us, and we need to kind of hope it's in a good time frame of, well, the last 2 laps, because now I'm within DRS of Albon. Verstappen's 1.5 behind me. He's going to be in my DRS on this lap. So it's actually perfect timing. We've timed this perfectly with our pace. That maybe onto the last lap, that's when we should make the overtake on Albon. Because right now, Albon's giving me DRS, and that's going to protect me from Verstappen. So we are playing this very tactically. It is 4D chess on the grandest stage in the middle of a Formula 1 race. to ensure that we get this objective. And so this was actually the interesting part to me in this scenario. The first part, I was a little bit like, oh, it's a bit unrealistic for a Haas to gain that many positions with only 9 laps. But this is somewhat realistic of having to be very tactical because we are in a Haas and we're being caught by a very quick rate of ball. So this was the fun part of the scenario. It kind of heated up in the last 2 laps really only, where we had to really think about when we make this move on Albon and saving enough battery to defend against Verstappen, or do we keep Albon ahead the entire time? Well, we've closed up so much that I feel like, well, Verstappen's coming for us. We have to go a bit defensive there by using some battery. DRS, we moved once to cover off on the inside, then back to the racing line, which I think is fair enough. And now I think we have to pull the pin and we have to look for the overtake on Albon on the next straight. We're going to use this DRS. We're going to keep Verstappen behind. But now, even before that straight, we get down the inside of Albon, a bit aggressive. But now surely we've got DRS again. Yes, we do. That is perfect. That is textbook strategic driving there. We got Albon. We still got DRS for the next straight. But you saw Albon held up Verstappen through the apex and the exit. So that was executed to an absolute T to get us this P4 as Verstappen now piles on the pressure, but there's only 1 sector to go. We've got 27% battery. I think we've got enough in the tank here to defend. It's difficult to overtake in these last 2 corners as we come through the last part of the lap. Lewis Hamilton has somehow won this Austrian Grand Prix. That's how you know it's a made-up scenario so far in 2025. But we've got the P4, and we have now officially unlocked the Canada 200th GP livery. A bit of Haas history, or nod to the Haas history on their 200th Grand Prix at the Montreal race. You know, it's a nice little throwback, you know, really makes you feel like, you know, think back to the old school Haas livery. So that was scenario 1. That's actually come and gone. You can't play that scenario anymore in the game, by the way, if you're watching this right now as I post this, because it's already come and gone. Because now, only yesterday or 2 days ago, they refreshed F1 World, and this is the second scenario. So we've unlocked 1 livery. It's now time for this second one. That was a pretty good scenario in Austria. Let's see what Australia has up for us. It says there's no bigger challenge in F1 than competing in your first race. Where so many before have failed, Haas thrived, with Romain Grosjean scoring an incredible 6th place for the team in 2016. Can 2025 new signing Esteban Ocon do better and win a podium on his Haas debut? So they're wanting us to get a podium in the Haas. That's pretty bonkers. Surely this will be us on fresh softs. It is going to be us on fresh softs coming out of the pit lane and indeed into a virtual safety car. So a bit of a very slow start to this scenario under VSC. But I think it's basically going to be us doing qualifying laps to the end then. But this certainly seems like a more believable scenario of we've just come in for a cheap pit stop, basically, under VSC to get a new set of soft tyres, whilst others are all on much more worn-out mediums, hards, maybe, I'm hoping. If we're in 10th, by the way, so we've got to gain minimum 7 positions to get to a podium. And the gap is pretty big to cars ahead. 4 seconds, 7.7. That's just to 8th place. So we have got to put on some serious pace here to get up to a podium, unless there's going to be maybe some free positions like in the Austrian Grand Prix. I was kind of hoping that would be the case because this does seem like a very, very far-fetched goal. And really now this was us pushing to the absolute limit. So in that sense as well, I can't really complain because this was a challenge. This scenario ended up making me push as much as I would in like a My Team career basically, which is not often with these scenarios. So to be fair, I've got to give this one a bit of kudos in terms of this was a bit of a challenge, and this really we had to nail this in terms of not losing time too much with overtaking cars, because I just thought if we've got such a big gap, we need to basically be driving like we're in clean air the entire time to basically use the most of these soft tires. So we cleared Lance Stroll, and now catching up to Carlos Sainz, Albon as well, the 2 Williams in tandem on the mediums, purple first sector, so the pace is there, but having to slow up a little bit under the rear wing of Carlos Sainz, looking for the pass on the right-hand side. DRS going to pop open in a moment, and we're trying to obviously still, you know, use the battery in a decent way where we're not overusing it, and we've got enough to make the next overtake. So we make The overtake on Sainz through the left-hander. We're practically pushing Albon through the right of the chicane, and we get the move on the exit with a second bite of DRS, and now get immediately on to the back of Yuki Tsunoda on the next lap. 53 to 58. 5 laps to go, and we still need to traverse 4 overtakes and plenty of seconds as Tsunoda loses the back end. That was brilliant to see. Tsunoda, very lifelike, back end loose with worn hard tyres, and we made a really fantastic overtake that was on the outside. Very unorthodox way to make a pass on that part of the circuit to get up into 6th place. Now, lap 55. The pressure's on. We're only P6 right now. We've still got a lot of work to do. Pushing Leclerc through the first corner. His mediums not feeling too great. Our softs still holding on pretty well, but we're having to be very, very stingy with the ERS into some places to make sure we have enough to then use in the clean air. 3.3 the gap is to Verstappen. We close that in the next lap or so. Lap 56. We have now closed up to the Red Bull. We're going to get past him with DRS on the inside. Dip a tire into the grass. Aggressive as ever to keep the pressure on, because now we need to bridge the gap to Lewis Hamilton. We've closed it by about 1.5 seconds in about a lap or so to lap 57 on towards the last lap. So just like in Austria, this is going to have to get done on the last lap. And this is very much a case of I really was getting this done on the last lap. I was leaving nothing on the table. So I gotta say again, fair play. These two scenarios, the difficulty has been much better. The fact that it actually did legit take to the last lap, and I wasn't just, maybe easing it a little bit just to have a bit of fun on the last lap. This was pure pushing, because otherwise I was worried we weren't going to get it done. And so really taking all the curb and more maybe through that chicane to make sure then we're here to dive down the inside of Hamilton. And we've got that done in the last sector of the last lap, just getting into 3rd place. So that was definitely a challenge. I felt like I was pushing as much as I would in a career race. And that's kind of what you want. I want to see more of that in the scenarios so that it feels like a challenge. Whereas I feel like the last season's challenge, the Hamilton China race, Anthony Miami, it really wasn't much of a challenge. There wasn't much highlights to show from both of those races. Whereas this, we were pushing right to the end, the last lap, and this one was worth it because this is a very good looking livery. The Japan special pink cherry blossom Haas one-off livery. This is a lovely one to use in career mode if you unlock it. So yeah, I mean, I know I said I'm unlocking it for you so you don't have to do the work and so you can get a good look at the livery. But if you want to use it for yourself, of course, I would definitely recommend going to do at least this scenario. Like I said, unfortunately, the first scenario is come and gone. So if you haven't done it, you can't get the livery anymore. But you can get this one still. So definitely go check it out if you want this one. And yeah, more of that. I want more of that kind of scenario where it's a real challenge, real push to the end, and then a little bit more detail in why, the context of everything like that. And I just want to see more. I think 2 to every season is not enough. I'd like to see 4 scenarios every season, just to get a little bit more content there. Because if they are insistent on doing the live service model with these seasons, then you at least want to see enough content. I know not a lot of people play it. Even I maybe haven't played as many of these in the past. But now I'm giving it a fair crack just for the sake of, okay, clearly it's part of what they want the game to be. So I thought it may be of interest to some of you guys to see the content, basically. So in terms of, in that kind of way, I would like to see more then if they're insistent on continuing this model of F1 World. But that's been the F1 World Season 3 content from F125, guys. If you have enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.